Good afternoon, folks. I wanted to talk to you about something that has just been on everybody's mind, at least in my business and the world that I run in. I was at the accountant today and they always ask me, so what's this market look like? What's going on? Are we going to see a crash and that type of thing? And so I thought I would talk to you about it. What we're seeing right now is something that everybody is keenly aware of. We have rapidly eroding housing affordability. There's a bright side to that and there's a downside to that. And I'm going to go over the causes for it, the ones that are just top 5 that are the most obvious causes of the erosion of housing affordability that we're facing now. But then I intend to do another video that would help those that are trying to get into the residential real estate market make some good choices and to get in. So first off, obviously, the interest rates have really put a slam on things. We were down at 2.5%, 3.5%, and then just very rapidly all the way up to 8%. And so for the first time in many years, I'm seeing buyers having to pay points to get the interest rate down so that they can qualify for a loan. What you see with interest rates is buyers that could afford, like a $200,000 house just a year ago, now they're going to be down around 140, somewhere in there, 135 to 145 range. What they could afford a year and a half ago to what they can afford now has greatly diminished. The size of the house, the type of house, the age of the house is all reduced because they just don't qualify with the higher interest rates. Now, to go along with that, we've had appreciation in real estate values, which is really good if you own real estate, if you own residential real estate, or any kind of real estate for that matter, you've had appreciation. So the $200,000 house that they were looking at, or we were used to, would now be $250, in some cases pushing $300, depending on where the property is located. So you can see there's been a dramatic change in what a certain level of buyers can buy, and that's the number one culprit of housing affordability right now, or the erosion of it, is interest rates and inflation that's went along with a lot of things that's happened in the last 2 or 3 years. Now, there's another problem that we have that we are just not keenly aware of because it's not quite so obvious, but it's really, really obvious to real estate agents, and that is the availability of housing. We are right now in one of the lowest times for availability of housing. Right now, we have the lowest availability of housing we've had since right after World War II, probably, when all the soldiers come back. We have way more buyers than there are houses. And there's several things that have happened with that. First off, right now in 2023, I only have numbers for 2022, but in 2022, we built we had just about as many housing starts as we did in 1960. Just a little bit more than 1960. But in 1960, we had 150 million people in the country. In 2022, we had almost 350 million people. And we were only building that level of houses. So what happened? So we're building houses, we're going along, things were cranking pretty good through the 90s. We got into the 2000s, we had 9/11, that kind of backed it off a little bit, then it pumped back up, and then 2008 hit, and 2010 was a crash, and I mean housing starts just plummeted to the lowest level in history. I mean, it just went straight to the bottom in 2010. And since then, we have been coming back up, and in 2022, we were higher than we had been in a long time, but not high enough in any source or form to keep up with the demand for housing. So, is the housing going to crash? I'm not thinking so, because supply and demand is going to hold the value up because everybody needs a roof over their head. However, supply and demand drives prices up, which erodes housing affordability. The other thing that we have looked at that has happened since 2010 is really, I actually can't profess to understand how this happened, but construction costs have steadily inflated. They just steadily went up since 2010. So we're not building as many houses. We're way below the market level of new construction across the nation, but the cost have steadily went up. And then 2020 hit, and I mean, we had precipitous 50 to 70% incline. In some cases, it was 100% increase in building costs. Now, it just spiked and dropped back down, but overall, it's 50 or 70% depending on what the building material material is, whether it's lumber or steel or concrete, drywall, electrical. Some of those things are way higher, but they're all higher. So we have increased interest. We have low housing availability. We have inflated construction costs that have not come down, doesn't look like they're going to. The other thing that we have that we don't think much about, but it erodes pretty substantially, and it's part of everybody's mortgage payment, is insurance. Some states they're just pulling out of the state because their losses have been so heavy. Home buyers are having to patch and piece things together to get their insurance coverage the way they need it. Costs are going up. They went up pretty rapidly over the past 20 years. And insurance has become a really big thing and a large part of a person's mortgage payment, which contributes to housing affordability. The other thing that has happened that, is just kind of on the back burner, but it is a large part of housing affordability, is your taxes. Taxes are part of everybody's mortgage payment. You have a principal and interest, taxes and insurance on your mortgage payment, and you're trying to qualify for a certain mortgage payment. As properties go up, the tax value goes up. So as the tax value goes up, so does the premium for the taxes owed. So the higher price they pay, the higher taxes they pay, the higher insurance they pay, and all of that on an elevated interest rate faced on a housing shortage, which forces people to compete on the market. Now, the market is kind of cooling down in the effect that we don't have so many people going out and making 40,000 over offers in this area anyway. But the prices are not cooling much. They're holding their ground because there's people that have been practical and they've been studious in their budgeting and they can afford it and they're buying homes. So hopefully this helps. In the long run, I don't think we're going to see prices drop. I do expect the interest rate to roll back some, so that's going to help with the housing affordability. Probably not in my lifetime am I going to see enough houses built to make up for the difference we've lost over the last 14 years. It's been fairly substantial, and I just don't see any way we can catch up with it. So housing availability, not affordability, but availability, housing availability is going to stay low. And so people who want to get into the residential housing market are going to have to plan well in advance to get what they want and have that dream, have the American dream the way they want it. Anyway, hopefully this helps. These are just 5 of the things I've run into. There's a lot of other things and we can break it down a lot further, but I'll have another video and I'm going to have some solutions to this issue, especially if you are a new buyer and trying to get into the market. I'm going to talk to you about how you can plan ahead and get where you want to be. That'll be on the next video. Hopefully this helps. Put a message down below, comment, ask questions, tell me if you disagree with my thoughts on this. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, I want you guys to have a very blessed day.